What's up, guys? Today I'm going to walk you note by note through that entire cover of Despacito that I just played for you there. We've got 5 guitar parts to learn in this song. And today we're starting the 5-minute guitar challenge. If you upload a cover of you playing this song and link it in the comment section below, we're going to pick a winner and they're going to get a tab of their choice from any of our videos. You can get the tab as well as backing track, slow playthrough, and MP3 downloads for this song in the link in the description below this video. And finally, you can get a free preview to my complete Mastering the Guitar program in the link in the description below this video. So put your capo on the 4th fret of your guitar and let's get started. Okay, let's get started with the first part, which is going to be the intro. We got a capo on our 4th fret, and in these tutorials, like all of my fingerstyle ones, I'm going to use the notation of E, A, D, G, B, and E, and then the fret number relative to the capo to reference which fret I'm on. So this would be E3, 3rd fret of the E string, and then this would be A2, 2nd fret of the A string. It might be a little bit confusing at first if you've never seen this, but I promise it will be easier once you get used to it. So with that, we're going to start with a little bit of a bar chord on the 2nd fret of the top 3 strings. And then your 3rd finger on D4, so the D string, 4th fret. And we're going to do this. So that first note is the D string and the E string, and then you're just doing a little run. Then you're going to switch to a standard D chord, and then do the same thing. First note is on the D and the E string, and then you just do your downward run. Then moving on, we've got a partial A chord, so it's just going to be 2nd finger on B2 and 1st finger on G2, and then do the same thing, except this time your first note is the A string and the E string. And then you're going to end that part with your 1st finger on G1, 2nd finger on D2, and then you're going to arpeggiate or strum quickly on E, D, G, and B. Or if you find that tough, you can just pick it. So that's the first part. Together it's going to sound like this. Okay, then we're going to move into the classic Despacito intro riff, and this part is a little bit tougher than the rest of the song, but this part is an intro, and if you play it a little bit slower than you'd play the rest of the song, it'll still sound good and it'll add some emotion to it. So if you can't play this one as fast, don't worry, just play it slower than the rest of the song, and then when you change speeds, that'll actually add an element of intrigue to the song you're playing. So with that said, we're going to start, and we're going to grab that same first chord that we played in the first part, which was the bar on the 2nd fret, and then D4. And you're going to do another little arpeggiation, which is just playing each of the strings individually quickly. Or if that's tough, you can just play them all at once. And then this next part here is going to be... So what you're doing here is you're starting on the pinky on E5, and then you go 5, 4, 2, 1, 2. And there's a few ways to do this. The best way is to actually use pull-offs for the first 3 notes, and then slide down to the first fret and back to the second. To get those pull-offs, you just take your finger and you flick it downward a little bit as you remove it so that the next note stays strummed without actually picking with your right hand. So I'd do here as I'd pick, and that one's a little bit tricky, so try it out. If you can't do that, then you can just pick it individually with the right hand. Or the last way to do it is pick the first 3 notes and then do the slide. So there's a few ways to do that. Try whichever one you're comfortable with. Don't worry too much if you can't get one way. Just try it the easier way and keep progressing through the song. So that part is... So then moving on, you're going to have another arpeggiation of that main chord we've been playing. Then your third finger on the E string, and it's going to go 4, 5, 7, 9. And then you're going to alternate between that and the pinky on... And then you're going to alternate between that and the pinky on B10. So that part is... And then to end that off, you're going to go a little bit of a slide with your third finger on the G string to G6. And then you're going to go G6, E5 with your second finger, and then slide again, G4, and then pinky on E4. That's a little bit confusing, but replay the instructions if you need to, and then all together it's going to sound like this. And practice that one. That's almost kind of like a mini guitar solo there. And just play it at whatever speed you can play comfortably at, even if it's a different speed than the rest of the song. As I said before, sometimes a change of pace actually adds more emotion to your playing. Then moving on to the next section, which is verse 1, if you're following along with the tabs from our Patreon, it's going to sound like this. Okay, let's break that down. So your first note is going to be E2. And then you're going to put your third finger on D4 and use this first finger to bar the G and B strings. And then you're going to play D, G, and B in one chord. So, and then you're going to release it to give it that quick punchy feel. If you're finding that tough, you can take the second finger and actually lay it on top of your first finger to give you a little bit more force in that bar chord. So then you're going to move your first finger to where your third finger was on D4, and then you're going to play that, and then G6 and pinky on B7. Then you're going to move up to first finger on E4 and do E4, 5, 7, 5, 4, then pinky down to B7, and then second finger on B5. So there's a little bit of a run there. So that first bar, so then the next bar is going to sound like this. So we're doing a chord shape here and just holding it. It's going to be first finger on E5, pinky on B7, and third finger on G7. And then you're going to start and play, I'll explain the strings that you're going to play with your right hand. So you're going to start with D and G, then B and E, and then D, and then G, B, and E, and then G and B, back to D, and then end again on G and B. So that's a little bit confusing, but just watch this a few times if you need to figure it out. And one quick tip if you're ever learning stuff on YouTube is if you're finding it going too fast, you can just click on the little settings icon on the bottom corner of the screen and change the playback speed to about 0.75, and that'll make it easier to follow along because it'll play it a little slower. But again, that bar is... So with the first bar, then you're going to switch your chord shape again, moving to this next bar, and it's going to be bar your first finger on the 5th fret of the B and E, and then second finger on G6, and then third finger on D7. So then your pattern here is going to be A and E, then B and G, E, D and B, back to E, A, G and B, E, then take this chord shape off, put your pinky on E7, and then first finger on E4. So watch that a few times if you need to figure out the rhythm, but it's going to sound like this. Then moving into the last bar of the verse, we've got this. So this one's really easy. Your chord is going to be second finger on B5, first finger on G4, and third finger on D6. And all you're going to do here is alternate between the open E string and then this chord. The first two times it's going to be E and then G and B, so just these two. And then the second two are going to be E to D, G, and B, so all three of them. So that bar slowly is... And that's the verse. So all together it sounds like this. And you can hear there that I played those 4 bars twice because the verse is those 4 bars repeated. So you learn the first 4 and then just play it a second time. And there you go. You've got the entire verse right there. All right, so let's move into the next section, which is going to be the chorus if you're following along with the tab. So it's going to start, the first bar is going to sound like this. So you're going to start on our same favorite chord that we've been using this whole song, which is actually an F sharp minor for anyone who cares, but it's going to be that bar on the 2nd fret and then a 3rd finger on D4. And you're going to do D and E, then G and B, then B twice, and then A, G, and B. So then you're going to take that bar off and keep your 1st finger on E2 and keep that 3rd finger on D4 and play those 2. Then while holding this D4, so you get that ringing out bass note, you're going to do, so that's alternating 2, 0, 2, and do a pull off on that 0 if you can. If you can't, then don't bother, you can just pick each note individually. And then you're going to play A0 and E0, and then hammer on to E2 if you can. If you can't, you can just pick it. Either way works. So that part of the bar is, and that whole bar again is, then continuing on. So this next bar, our chord shape to start off is going to be 2nd finger on B3 and 1st finger on G2. And then you're going to play D0, then G and B, then B twice. Then put that 3rd finger back to D4 and play all 3. So then you're going to take those off, 1st finger on E2, and play D and E. 2nd finger goes to B3, and then you're going to play those 2. And then pull off to E0 if you can. If you can't, pick it, and then go back to E2. So, just like that first bar. And the rhythm is the same, so you could follow the same rhythm for both bars. The notes are just a little bit different. Then you're going to keep your 2nd finger in its place and add your pinky to E5, and then you're going to play the D, B, and E strings, and then end the bar by playing E5. So this bar altogether is going to follow the exact same rhythm as the first bar, just slightly different notes, and together it sounds like this. So then you add that to the first bar, and so far we've got this. And now we move into the next bar of the chorus, and we're starting with that A0. Then put your 1st and 2nd finger on G2 and B2. Then play the top 3 strings. Then following the same kind of rhythm again as the last 2 bars, you're going to open with E0 twice. Then play these 3 strings a second time. Then move this 1st finger to B2 and your pinky to E5. Then you're going to play the A, B, and E strings. Then just play B and E. And then pull off, if you can, with this pinky to the 4th fret. That one's a little tricky because the pinky is really weak and it's hard to pull off with. So many of you may just want to play that twice. Either way is fine. But then you can put your pinky back on and play that string again, and then put this second finger down on B3, play these two, and slide straight up to the 7th and 5th frets there. And then you're going to play E7 again. So that bar together is... And then you're going to end this part of the chorus with a bar chord on the 4th fret of these 3 strings, then your second finger on B5, and then play the open E string, and then these 3. Then do that again. Then add your 3rd finger onto E5 and take off this bar, and then play E, B, and E strings. And then take off your 3rd finger, put on your 1st finger, and play those 2. Add that to the full chorus so far, and we've got this. Then that's going to be the first run through of the chorus, and we're going to do 2 run throughs of this chorus. The second time, the first 3 bars are going to be the exact same, and the 4th bar is all that's going to be different. So here are the first 3 bars. So that's the first 3 bars, and we're going to end this almost the exact same way as the first time. This time we're just going to start with this again. And then you're going to end with open E, and then a thumb slap on the side of the 6th string there. And that's the end of the chorus. So all together, both run-throughs are going to sound like this. Okay, so now moving into the next section, which is the post-chorus. If you're following along with the tabs, it's going to sound like this. That's the first bar right there. So this one, we're going to play it, as you heard, really staccato, which just means choppy with really quick notes that aren't held out to give you a nice punchy feel to this. Now starting off with the first note, we're going to have a big stretch here. First finger on E2, and then your pinky all the way on the other E5. You're going to play those 2. And then you're going to do a pull off with your pinky to E4. Or again, like always, you can pick them individually if the pull-off's too tough. So you're gonna do that. Then you're gonna move this first finger all the way over to B2 and do the same thing, except this time picking these two strings. And then go back to there. So then take off the pinky and play E and B strings. Then back to E5. Then move this first finger back down and play that E2 again. So you've got then you're going to move this finger back up to B2 and then play these two again, pull off, then back. And then end this bar by keeping that pinky in place and bringing that up to the 7th fret and then putting your first finger on D4. And then taking that off and playing D0. So together. So that's the first bar, and so we want to play that, as you can hear it nice and choppy and staccato, so it gives it a really punchy feel. And then here's where the fun part's going to come in. In this next bar, now we're going to switch to smooth, also called legato, which is where we're letting everything ring out as long as we can. So that's going to give it a big contrast from that first bar and make your playing just a lot more interesting. So you're going to start and play where you just ended with that D0, and then put on second finger on B3, first finger on G2, and then play the top 3 strings. Then play the D, G, and B string. Then B, G and B, B twice. Then D and E, and then back to B. So this bar is so then adding that with that first bar, you'll be able to see what I mean by this contrast of the sharp, punchy, and the smooth. You can hear how you've got that contrast there, which just makes everything a little more interesting. So then moving into this next bar, we're going to start with A0, and then you can either bar the 2nd fret of the D, G, and B string, or just play a standard A chord, whichever one you find easier. I like to bar it personally, but then you're going to play. So A, B, then G and D. Then A, all 3 of these. Then A and B. B, all 3. B, B, put this finger onto B3. Then back to just B, B2. So that bar is. And then the 4th bar of this chorus is going to sound like this. So this one here, you got E0, then B0, and then you've got this chord shape here, first finger on G1, second finger on D2, play those two, back to E, then play the D, G, and B string, back to open E, D, B, D, G, D, then third finger on the left hand goes to G2 and end off with that. So, so then you've got that. Those are the 4 bars of the post-chorus. All together, it's going to sound like this. So that's the first run through. The second run through of the post-chorus, just like the chorus, is going to have the exact same first 3 bars, and then the only difference here is that last bar. So the last bar is going to change up here to sound like this. And that's going to transition us into verse 2. So that one has the exact same first few notes. Then you're going to end this off with your second finger on G2, play that twice, pinky on D4, then play G2 3 times, then to G1. So, whole bar is so that's the entire post-chorus. You're playing that bar on the second run through and the first variation, which is this one. On the first time. So then that said, all together, here's your full post-chorus. And with that, we move into the final section we need to play this entire song, verse 2. You're almost there, guys. Just stick with me a little bit longer and you'll be able to play this entire thing. So the first bar of that is going to sound like this. So this one, as you can hear, is just a few repeated notes. We've got that first lead-in section that we just learned from the post-chorus. We've already learned that. Then we're going to do this little lick here, which is starting on second finger on G2, and then you're going to pull off or pick to first finger on G1. Then put your pinky on D4. Then play A0. Then move your second finger back to G2 and play that 4 times and then do that little lick again. Then you're going to do that one more time. So that full first bar. Then moving to the second bar, we've got this. So for here, you're going to start and play D0, and then do that lick one more time. Then play D0 again. Then play B0 3 times. Then down to G2. So what we've got up to this point is then moving to the next bar, we're going to keep that second finger on G2 and play the G and B strings 3 times. And then stop them, and then play them another 3 times. And then you're going to put your third finger on B2. And then you can take that finger off, put your first finger on D2, and then play A, D, and G strings twice. And make sure to stop them afterwards. Then you're going to do B0 3 times, then down to G2. So that bar is Then moving to the next bar, you're going to play B0 3 times. Then third finger on E4. Then B0 3 times. B2. Then put your first finger on D2, second finger on G2. Then you're going to play this time E, D, and G strings. Then back up to B0 3 times. G2, and then to end off this section, you're going to go up to here, which is the same chords we've seen in the end of the chorus, and it's going to be E0, then B5, and E5, played in one chord. And then take your pinky off, put your second finger on E4, and play those 2. Okay, so that's the second half of verse 2, and that together sounds like this. And that there is the entirety of verse 2. So all together, it sounds like this. And that right there is the end of the final part you need to play this whole song. So now we've been over everything. Now the actual way you're going to play this, if you want to play the whole thing as I've played it in the start there, is you're going to start with the intro, and then you're going to move to the first verse, then you're going to play chorus, post-chorus, then verse 2, chorus, and end with the post-chorus. And if you play all those parts in that order, that's the entire song. The only thing we haven't gone over is the very last chord, which is going to be an F sharp minor. And we're going to play either just these 3 strings barred on the top 3, or bar the whole thing and play E2 and then these top 3 strings. And if you play that at the very end of the song after the second post-chorus, then that'll sound really nice and you'll end off the entire song.